Welcome to the Zachrilege Cast podcast, YouTube video interview program that features me talking to some of the best and brightest in the atheist / secular / awesome community. This is episode number 110. I am recording live on August 28th, 2017. I would like to thank Dustin Dark for returning and making me scared-er of the alt-right. I'm sure I'll disagree with him on something soon, but still, you should check out the brand spanking new Everyone's Wrong podcast. They probably picked McGregor. Now, I try to be diverse with my guests, but look at me bringing on another white male. Aiden Xavier McCool is the host, co-host of the For Trans Men podcast, 9 scant episodes in, so I can binge listen, and husband of the one, the only, the Rissy Monster. How you doing tonight?
I'm good, and the look on some people's faces. You were fooled. I am a white man, but I am not cis. Gotcha. And yourself?
Cis people. Ugh.
Yeah.
Do that short people got no reason to live song. I'm sure that's been used.
Probably.
This isn't necessarily a out of context quote, and I did one that's kind of both, so there's Aiden and Marissa in here, but the quote that I got was, "That's pretty fucking ballsy," or the opposite.
I like it.
And the context quote would be, "I am here, we exist, we're normal."
Yep, that would definitely be it. But no one seems to believe us anyway.
Now, did the show For Trans Men start because Rissy found a 30-minute free period in her schedule?
No, actually, the show started because I finally, as I like to say it, I finally got enough of a backbone. But yeah, it's a joke. I had been noticing well before I transitioned, and a little bit after I began to take testosterone regularly, that there were some issues, or should I say gaps, in knowledge and things that we were talking about specifically for trans men or trans masculine folk. The worst of it I saw was on a trans male group that I used to belong to on Facebook, where men were asking, how do I bind? How do I get a hold of a binder? Or my least favorite, hey, is it okay for me to bind with ace bandages, which is incredibly unsafe and unhealthy, and it just sends shivers down the spine. I had enough of that. I had enough of people saying, oh, trans men exist too, or, so many people without answers, or so many people, or at least so many men that were taking testosterone by injection like I was, and not having the proper resources to keep that going, that I finally had enough and said, all right, I want to do a show. And Marissa was behind me 100%, as she is today. So so I really don't think she minds adding on another show. Oh, my baby.
That's cameo appearance.
Yep, she's
Rissy Monster.
Rawr.
We heart.
I don't think she minds too much adding another show onto her empire or name brand, as you joked with me yesterday about. But and she has done the glorious pose. She knows she's amazing.
Like, I need to get some of those Elvis poses going for that. But I have to be away from the camera for it to work. I totally forgot to ask the appropriate first question. What was the inciting incident leading you to start a podcast? See, I just
like I said before, there was a lot of confusion and a lot of questions with hardly any answers. For trans men who were about my age, or trans men that were much younger, some that haven't even started their hormone therapy yet, or ones that are still living at home. It was obvious that there was a lot that was not being talked about. Although I think, if I'm being honest, the tipping point for me was after I read an article. It was written in Canada, and the the line, the headline was "Trans rights are women's rights." I had issue with that, not because women were involved. I usually tell people whenever someone says transgender, they think of trans women, and that's right. That's correct. The only problem is that they do not think of trans men or non-binary folk or trans masculine folk at all. So I thought that was a slight that really needed to be fixed. Trans rights are not singularly women's rights. I mean, they are as they apply to trans women, but they apply to us too, and it's about damn time that we get the visibility we deserve and the space to talk about the things that we desperately need to talk about.
Yeah, I'd say for sure, because even with something like atheism, you just think, oh, it's this big umbrella and everybody's welcome, and then you find out, oh, wait a second. And there's even some push in like the gay community to maybe not let bi people in, or it'll be just about gay men and not gay women. And it's like, it's got to be tough to go, hey, I finally discovered who I am, and wait, is no one accepting me, and can I actually find out what I need to know to get by on a day-to-day basis?
Exactly. My favorite comparison for atheism is that we're scary heathens that hate people and yell you down whenever you tell us about religion, and we also eat babies for some reason. I mean, I don't know about you. I haven't really eaten any babies yet. They're too cute, but
I did a joke about slow cooking them, what the best way to be to do, like there was some kind of division within our ranks. But yeah, it's funny. Of course, doing the show, I'm always drinking my beverage, and tonight I have a lovely Tritonia from Creature Comforts in Athens.
Ooh.
This is a cucumber lime goza. And we'll probably get into whole gender roles. I drink a beer like this, and this is a girly beer, and you're like, wait a second, it's a delicious beer. And do I have to drink something really bitter and disgusting to be a man, that kind of thing? It's like, yeah, it's not the case.
I don't know about you, but I really can't do it. I guess I can. My fear, I guess, of some beers started when I was 4, and my father let me have a sip of Coors Light, and that metallic, disgustingly bitter sting has been with me ever since. I can't do it. Ugh. So I always think, fuck it if it's a girly drink. What is it? My former roommate, Brian, he always made a good comparison. They always say that like a fuzzy navel is such a girly drink. Yeah, but it has such a high alcohol content, it'll kick your fucking ass. So,
That's true, the high alcohol stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But craft beer is such a wonderful time. Most people can find something they like, but if you don't like that, there's going to be something else. That might make me skip ahead, but not yet. Okay. So where are you based? And I hear you had a move recently.
Yes. Recently, my family has moved from central Pennsylvania to the Twin Cities in Minnesota. I've never left the state of Pennsylvania before, so this is quite a move, and I have to say, it's quite nice out here. Definitely not what I was expecting. So, one of the best things is, like I told you before the interview started, the access to alcohol. It is so much easier here. I'm blown away by it. I really am. For those of you who are not familiar with it or are not from Pennsylvania at all, the liquor is still controlled by the government. You can only buy most of the stuff, your whiskey, your Rumpelmints, your peach schnapps. You can only buy them from state stores that have only certain hours and are mostly closed on Sundays. And just this year, they have allowed grocery stores and gas stations to start selling 6-packs of beer. May I repeat, just this year they voted for that. So just let that sink in a little bit. I've moved from that to areas, to a state that has beer and your beer and liquor in gas stations and grocery stores, in this wonderful store the size of a Walmart called Total Wine. And
that's a good one.
Oh, oh my God, I love them.
We have some things beside moonshine in Georgia. It's shocking, but yeah, every state is weird. I'm from Pittsburgh, so I know the Pennsylvania state weird. I think it used to be you'd had to go and tell the guy or gal what you wanted, and they would get it for you. And they actually changed the laws where you could actually walk around the stores, but yeah, they have limited hours, and they did just finally let them in stores. Actually, Georgia on Friday, September 1st, will be the last state in the country to allow you to actually buy a beer at a brewery. It's really dumb. I think that would be a good name for It's Really Dumb, which is about every state's liquor laws. I should just do that. 50 episodes, I'd be done. There is no end for us, though, right? So what's your format of your show? Do you just try to pick a topic every time you do it? And I forget if you're an every week, every other week, whenever the heck you feel like it type show. But what's the usual format that you have?
The way that the show goes is I introduce, the episode number, although apparently I'm starting to get as bad as Tom, and I'm goofing up the episode numbers. I said in the last one it was episode 11 when, no, it's only episode 9. So I don't know. I guess Tom kind of stole my thunder, so I guess I can't go on the next one and say, welcome to episode 378, I think. Well, now I can't, but...
You could do that. It could be your shtick, every episode you say that until you get there.
Yeah, and I could start doing symbols like, welcome to episode fish. You know what? I think I might go with that. Anyway, I do that, introduce myself, Riss. We kind of joke around a little bit, and if I have a solid topic, we jump into it where Riss will, as she likes to say, she'll play the clueless girl who doesn't, really know anything about it and just lets me rant. Yeah, if it's a solid topic, I try to stick with that and branch out as much as I can, because there is a lot to cover in half an hour's time. Like the second and third episode, we started with binding and then went on to packing and had to stop halfway through that discussion and finish it up on the next one. There's just so many questions, and well, let's face it, by the end of it, I don't think Riss or I could have taken it seriously, just because the names made her crack up. So, I mean, that was worth it. Then again, it's pretty bad when one of the best products out there, or I'm sorry, I should go back. One of the best companies out there, top of the line, good quality, is called Peacock. Peecock. Peacock. Yeah. Or the Shiwi, which made her pee her pants. Laughing, I mean. Or my favorite, the Mango. I'm not even kidding. It's the Mango. I kind of feel like we kind of get stuck with that. We have shishi fufu girly names for things like, panty liners, or adorable little names for some of our more discreet moments when we're presenting as female. And then when we decide that that's not our gender identity and we decide to start transitioning and presenting as a male, we still get the embarrassing names. They're just laughably embarrassing now.
So it's always the first draft of names. So that close enough. We'll come up with something better. No, we
don't. Let's see. We could call it the rubber. Nah, it's been used. The shaft. Nah. No. Copyright. Yeah, right. The dingling. Yeah, it'll work.
The dingling. Now, by the way, Marissa was on episode 84 of this show, but I'll include links there. 84. I think it was the 84th show she'd done that week too, because it's pretty busy. Yeah, I think you're right. Now, I like a beverage or two during my show. Do you partake while recording, and do you recommend people to drink while listening, assuming they're not operating a motor vehicle?
Well, I've never had alcohol while on a podcast, but I will admit it. I have, I've been bad, and I have partaken of some marijuana before recording. I kind of think it makes me ramble a little too much, so I try not to do it too often, although, but if I did have a drink to recommend, I would probably go with, oh goodness, Riesling. That one's pretty good. I found a really, really sweet one at this fancy schmancy grocery store just a few blocks away from the house. Either that or what is it? Il Ducha, I think. That's a brand that I found at. No, I can't do that. I have to give credit. A friend of ours who lives here in the cities, he recommended it to me. Their Moscato d'Asti. Oh my God, is that good? Worth the money too. But yeah, I would not recommend it if you're driving. Well, I mean, okay, if it's the Moscato d'Asti, you should be okay with at least one glass, since I mean the alcohol content's like 0.5. But if you polish off the entire bottle, you should probably get someone to drive you instead. Don't be a dumbass. Don't lose your license, especially here in Minnesota. I don't know what they do in Georgia, but in Minnesota, there's an easy way to tell if you've gotten a DUI. You get a plain white license plate. That's it, and you apparently have to wait until your period. The probation period is over, and then pay to have your regular license plate reinstated. Ridiculous, right?
Well, I've studied the liquor laws in some states. I have not studied the DUI laws. That could be a good episode for the law induced shows.
Law. Always wanted to do that.
My last name is Wasted. Not on the biz. Not even close.
Oh no.
So what has it been like to do this show and to get feedback? Because my feedback usually is, boy, you drank too much in the last episode, or funny question. But in your case, you're dealing with people going through a pretty serious time in their lives. So how's it been?
I will be very honest. I was not expecting this much feedback. I was not even expecting so many people to listen to the show at all. I just wanted to get the information out there, so maybe the occasional trans man or trans boy who needed answers would find it. But within a few weeks, Marissa told me about messages I'd gotten, oh my God, the show is wonderful. Oh, I just heard about your show. I really need to listen to it. Oh, wow, the last episode is great. Hey, when's the next episode coming on? I relate so much to this, and I'm still floored by it. Like, I'm sorry, what? You're actually listening to the show. Thank you. Really, I'm flattered. I'm bad with compliments, as is. I'm terrible at receiving positive feedback. I appreciate it so much, but it's like I don't know what to say. Oh my God. It's encouraging though. I won't be shy about it. My self-confidence has never been very, very big. Well, it was when I was a kid, but it went away when I got older. So to not only know that so many people are listening to the show, but to get so much positive feedback and to know that it is actually reaching a lot of people, it's very encouraging. And I guess I can say for the first time since I was about 5 or 6 years old, I feel a little fearless. It's kind of nice. And it proves that obviously I am doing something right, and I really can't stop now because, I mean, dear God, I mean, I've gotten this much progress. It hasn't been much, but I can't imagine how much more progress I can achieve or create for trans men or trans masculine folk in general if I keep this going, if it reaches more people, if it finally begins to open lines of communication or discussions. Hell, I'm kind of hoping that in a weird way, maybe this might influence more research and hopefully implementation of the Mayo Clinic to start looking at phalloplasty in the near future. Please, 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 please. That would be wonderful. That would be great. Please, please. I'll keep doing the show just for that. Just give me one for free. Please, please. I'll gladly do it for that.
That would be the ultimate product pitch, I suppose.
Yes. I will continue to do the show.
What is it? I'm not just the president of the company, I'm a user.
Oh, I'm not only a spokesperson, I am a happy customer. Yeah.
The proof is in the pants.
Oh, a boy can dream.
Well, it is time for the first live read of the show. this week, this shows the power of this community. We've had a little bit of arguing and infighting. People are not getting along so much recently. But the newly New Science Vagina installed Callie Wright of the Gaytheist Manifesto, I believe on Thursday, decided to do an impromptu 4-hour live show raising money for Foundation Beyond Belief, because I believe people will know that there is a hurricane going on. Because it's a tropical storm now, but Houston, Texas is getting like 25 to 30 inches of rain. People are getting flooded out, and you know who we have in the White House, so don't get too excited about any federal help. So it's fbbgives.org, because Foundation Beyond Belief has a humanist service corps, and they actually go into regions and say, hey, by the way, we're not religious people, but we're helping out. And honestly, I posted a link to it, and I was like, I don't even care if you're a Christian, whatever you believe, go find your own group that gives money. That's fine. Just find something. If you can donate, do that. And of course, as a jealous podcaster, I was like, man, she got better guests in 2 days, and I get in like months. That's impressive, because I was just on episode like hour 2 and had had Aaron Ron and Seth Andrews, and
yeah.
I mean, of course, Marissa was on the first hour, because you go top to bottom in terms of talent level, but let's South talk for a few minutes, right? But then,
yeah,
it might be tough, because that was one of those 4 people at a time kind of deals. So you like, don't fall asleep between times you talk. But I thought it was a good show, and they're actually talking about good news, right? It's good to try to focus on the good news of late. So we'll go back to you, Aiden. Now. You were talking about being really confident at age 5 and 6, and I was kind of like, was I that confident back then? I was like, well, I didn't know any better. What was your, I guess, transition like, growing up? Because I'm guessing you probably didn't even know that trans was a thing.
Yep, that's right. Well, to answer your question, the first question about being fearless, apparently I was so fearless that I used to somehow incite fights with boys who were maybe about 3 or 4 years older than me. Well, one story my mother used to love telling me was that my father had seen that I was walking up our our back sidewalk in the backyard, and I was yelling at this boy. I can't even remember doing it. And, he was telling me to shut up, and I told him to shut up, and I got to the back porch, and this boy was about to walk in. And wouldn't you know it, I was lucky, because my father was right there by the back door. He opened the door, looked at the boy, and said, "Can I help you?" No. And that ended that. So apparently I was one bold motherfucker back then. Yeah, I did not know what transgender meant, not until I met Marissa. I didn't even know what was going on with me. I didn't know for the longest time, but I mean, I liked dressing up as a girl when I was much younger. I liked wearing dresses because, they were long on me, and, they had decent spin factors, my mother would say. But I never really had too many girlfriends the older I got. And I admit it, by the time I reached high school, I kind of became a little distrustful of most of my cis female friends. I mean, obviously I've gotten better about that now. I don't have a problem with my female friends now, but I always had more male friends. I always kind of felt out of place. I seemed to have a little more energy than seemed appropriate for most girls my age. And I remember being told more than once before I became a teenager to act like a lady, which I found very hard to do. The first time that I guess I should have gotten a hint was when I was 9. That was 2002. So yeah, about 2002. Yeah. And I remember "Don't Let Me Get Me" by Pink had just come out, and I used to love that song. I still do. And where I was in the car with my family. We were on our way to this talent show that I was in, and my hair was all done, all nice, and I was wearing this dress that I kind of hated. And the song came on, and I was singing along, and I thought about it only recently, but two of the lines from the song, the last line of the first verse about I can't stand the person staring back at me, and the end of the chorus, I don't want to be my friend no more, I want to be somebody else. Back then I associated it with, maybe I'm just a misfit or something, and it kind of hit me this year. Oh my god, no, that's not what that means in that context at all. Oh shit. And it kind of got a little worse the older I got. I had a bit of a gothic phase. It never went as far as, like the bondage pants or anything like that, your basic black band t-shirt, whatnot. And I talked myself out of it when I was a teenager, mostly because I thought that it was immature and I was doing it for attention, so boys would pay attention to me. Bad decision at the time, I know. And I felt weird every time I would go into like not Hot Topic, like Hollister or American Eagle or Aeropostale, and I would pick out something to wear and I'd put it on and I would feel weird. I remember one time I did that, and my mother, she was with me, and she was trying to be supportive, if she didn't even know at the time. And I remember standing, looking in the three-way mirror, and she stood behind me, and she said, with a big smile on her face, "Oh, don't you look so pretty?" And I didn't see it. I didn't feel it. I felt so strange. I did not like the image that I was looking at. I hated what I was wearing, but I couldn't. I thought I was being strange. I didn't know. At the time, I only had two examples for trans individuals. Alexis Arquette, who I saw on TV while she was still mid-transition, and Chaz Bono, who I wouldn't learn about until I got a little older. But I thought that was just something for the more eccentric celebrity or something that normal people did not do. I had never met a transgender friend before. Never. And I wouldn't learn until I met Marissa. And I wouldn't put everything together until after she came out. So, yeah, I felt like I was a misfit with no cause for what was wrong, no term for what was out of place for most of my adolescence, up until at least the age of 22. Nothing really made sense until after I came out, so... Yeah, it was quite an interesting transition from 6 years old all the way up to now.
Well, when you met Marissa, you were, both in the, I guess, genders that you were born in. What was it like? Because Marissa was kind of the leader there. What was it? Was it hard for you to deal with that transition, or did it kind of make you go, huh, maybe I got something to think about?
It was more the latter than the former. She came out and, oh goodness, it was very, very early into our relationship. And I remember the first time that she was going to dress up as herself. And I admit I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect. But despite the fact that I was nervous, I was supportive and I intended to be no matter what the outcome was. That night is still one of my favorite memories because I was downstairs. We were all downstairs. It was a gathering, myself, some of our friends, and we were playing games waiting for her to show up so she'd join us. And it was time, and I thought, okay, you are supportive. You like this person. Yes, you don't know what you're getting into, but hey, it cannot be all that bad. You want to be supportive. You can do this. Don't worry. And she came downstairs, and I just thought she was lovely. I still do. I saw her and it looked nothing like her, and I just thought, wow. Oh, wait. I don't like girls. At least I don't think I like girls. What the... Okay, I'm a lesbian. Awesome. Okay, cool. And it I saw over time that she did not bulk or feel forced presenting as female. It all came naturally to her. Putting on makeup, she didn't mind that at all. She didn't even groan or roll her eyes. She didn't mind being cute. Actually, she was cute. That just came to her naturally. She didn't have to try. She liked the mindless babble that sometimes my other female friends would go on about, which I just could never understand. And I remember trying to force myself to be a little more feminine. I guess I was in denial still at that point. And over the course of the next year or so, I remember questioning myself a lot. It's natural for her to do that, but hey, wouldn't it be cool if we were a guy? No, we are not a guy. You know you're female. And that happened for a while until I'd say about February or March of the next year. That was 2015. And I kind of stopped myself at that point. You know, you are female, and just thought, are you sure? Are you absolutely positive you are female? Think about it. Really think about it. Do you even feel female? And the answer was no. No, I don't. But I was nervous for the longest time to even admit that I was male. So when I came out to Marissa, it was gender fluid. I was both. I mean, it took me up until this past March to come out on my last Facebook and tell everyone my name is not Catherine, my name is Aiden. And that felt good, but you know, it took a while to even venture that guess, to even acknowledge that I was male, but I'm still glad that I did. Very much. Very much so.
Well, I guess one advantage you get as a trans person is if you are, I guess, switching, or I mean, you didn't have to go male, female, female, male, but you get to kind of pick your own name. Is that a really empowering thing to do?
Yeah, it is. I was actually put on the spot for that. I guess I should tell the story of how I came out to Marissa because it makes me laugh and it makes her laugh too. We had over some friends and two people that were looking at the attic of this house we lived in Pennsylvania, and they were both trans, and I'd had about a quarter of a beer. My alcohol tolerance was terrible back then. I hadn't had much, and boy, was I happy. And we were playing Cards Against Humanity, and one of the roommates looked over and, just trying to make polite conversation, asked me, "So, what pronouns do you go by?" Now, without the beer, the logical answer would have been female, but I thought I'd been questioning myself anyway, and, well, drunk me had decided, fuck it, say it anyway. Oh, you know, she, he. And then I caught Marissa's eye, and I looked over, and her eyes got really huge, and I hear, "Well, this is new." And then I thought about it. Shit. I just, shit. I didn't mean to tell her or anyone else. I was too scared. So after everyone left that evening, we had talked about it a little more. She wasn't angry. She was just surprised because even I hadn't mentioned it to her. And, well, I was kind of put on the spot, but I'm glad that I was because I really liked the name. She had asked me, "What is your name?" And I had to think quickly, but one name came to mind, and it was one that I used for a male character every single time that I wrote when I was in middle and high school. Aiden. Like, Aiden. That's your name? Yeah. And the more I heard it, the more I was referred to as it. Yeah, it made sense that was my name, and I'm still glad I chose it. It's an awesome name.
What was it like, the transition period between saying to yourself and telling other people that you're trans and then deciding to see a doctor and start taking medication?
This is one of my favorites. That period, well, sorry, cat. Let's see. Oh, hang on, I can at least bring her on.
I
Toes!
understand. Oh, that's right. We have a couple tuxedo kitties and look a lot like yours.
Oh yeah, well that's Tux, but that dumbass isn't around me. No, this is his sister. But anyway, uh, well that period was actually kind of interesting. It wasn't until a year after I came out to Marissa that my I started to seriously consider transitioning. I told some people about my gender identity then, but at the time I was still telling myself and others that I was gender fluid. I was not. At the beginning, I was too terrified to even explore the thought or the idea that I could be male. It as time went on, between when I came out and when I started considering transitioning, I became more comfortable with the idea that, yeah, you know what, I do identify more as male, and that's okay. But my only problem was that knew at that time that it wasn't going to be possible, or so I thought. As it so happened, the aforementioned Callie had an episode in May of 2016, and it featured 3 guests. They were all trans male. One was pre everything, the second was pre top surgery, the other one post top surgery, I'm sorry, and the third was about to go for his phalloplasty. That was the very first time that I heard that there was bottom surgery options for trans men. The only other surgery option that was being discussed anywhere that I had access to was top surgery only. There was absolutely no information widely available for bottom surgery. And he was excited. He was talking about how excited he was. He said, yes, there would be sexual sensation. I mean, sure, I'll still have to put in an implant, but it'll be mine. It'll be functional. I can even use it to go to the bathroom. And that was the very first time that I got penis envy. And I thought, wait, that's possible? Holy shit. Really? I want one. So I started doing some research. I even found someone's blog. I forget what his name is now, but he had done a whole blog on his transition from when he came out to his parents to when he got a phalloplasty, which he said he had to go back for multiple surgeries due to complications, which kind of puts me on edge and put me on edge then and still does. And that's when I knew that's what I wanted. I did not feel that I wanted to. I felt like that's what I needed to do because it was possible. A few days later, I got a book from Marissa called "The Last Time I Wore a Dress." It was written by a trans man. It's under his dead name because when it was written, he had not considered transitioning at all. But it was about his experience in 3 separate psychiatric institutes in the early 80s. He was diagnosed with gender identity disorder because he was not putting on makeup as often as other girls were. He was not behaving as femininely as other girls his age were. And I found that disgusting. Just because he did not present that femininely, it was okay to put him in 3 separate psychiatric institutes, psychiatric hospitals, because that counted as gender identity disorder. But he was sexually assaulted twice, 3 times possibly, and those issues were never addressed. That was my solid push. That's when I knew I wanted to see a doctor. I had to see a therapist to get a letter of support. I wanted to start I wanted to go the whole 9 yards. So after that, I started telling more people. That's when it became, okay, I'm not Catherine anymore. I am not gender fluid. I am a trans man. And, it was full force by that point. Anyone who didn't know at the time or what wasn't introduced to me, I introduced myself as Aiden. Anyone who was, well, I had to tell them. But aside from a few lost friends and a few minor gaffes, everyone's been supportive. So, okay, almost everyone, but
The people who matter.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's tough. So, is it testosterone? Is that all you're taking right now? I mean, for this, and how do you take it?
Hang on. Toast? No, you're not on camera anymore.
That's funny.
She's a diva. She knows she is.
Wait, your cats don't have a podcast? Come on. Cat podcasts it's the new realm. It's the new thing.
Well, she doesn't have much to say about gender rights or atheism, but I mean, squirrels that run by, and who gives her what attention? Well, anyway, I guess I should appease YouTube. Look, a cat. Say hi, Toast.
Yeah. My cats want nothing to do with this show. I leave them out of the room.
I'd love to, but there's no doors aside from the ones that lead outside. So, okay, crap. I'm sorry. What was the question again?
About how do you take testosterone?
That's right. Thank you. Well, I take mine intramuscularly. In layman's terms, I shoot myself in the leg every time that I need to take tea. When I started, it was every 2 weeks. But since I moved here to Minnesota, it's been, well, my dosage has been down from what it was before I left, and the frequency has been increased. I now shoot myself in the leg every week to make sure that my the terrible symptoms of what Marissa likes to call estrogen poisoning don't return. Okay, she calls her, for her, she affectionately calls it testosterone poisoning, but, seeing as I'm going the opposite way, you get it.
Yeah, I was just wondering because I had to take some blood thinners 15, 16 years ago.
Oh.
And they were like, you can take a pill, but if that doesn't work, you have to basically shoot yourself in the stomach. So I had to do the fatty area, not the muscular area. I guess muscular probably hurts more, but I was like, I hated needles, and somehow I had to shoot myself in the stomach twice a day for 6 months. Luckily, not forever. But I just remember how traumatizing it was, and just like having to psych myself up. And even after doing it every day for a while, it was just like, it's the thought, I think, for me. I don't know if that's how you feel, like the thought of the needle going in, or are you like, at this point, done, easy?
It kind of varies. The first time I had to do it on my own, oh yeah. It also doesn't help that the suspending agent in testosterone is so thick that I need an 18 gauge needle to draw it out, and they prescribed a 21 gauge needle to inject it. So I've got one big ass one to draw the medicine out, and one a really long one. So it's like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. You're right. It does hurt more. I won't go into depth about it just because I know it'll scare the shit out of some people, and I don't want to do that. But usually, the best way I can describe it is, okay, you can do this. Ow! Push the plunger. Ah! Okay, where the fuck is the Band-Aid? Band-Aid. I need the Band-Aid. That's usually my thought process from this point. But it helps. I feel more energized every time I take my shots. And the reason the frequency's been upped is because since I've taken it, occasionally I've been experiencing some menstrual cramps and some spotting during my usual cycle, which is not supposed to happen when you're on T. Every time I've brought it up to a doctor, they've either said, okay, let's up the dose, or my most recent one saying, let's try doing that every week. Maybe that might help. That's not supposed to be happening right now. So.
Well, it's fun every time a doctor says, that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, really.
Great. What do we do about it? Oh my gosh. You get the new and exciting stuff. Exactly. Well, let me do the second live read, and then we'll continue, and we'll get to the TV show everybody's talking about.
All right.
So they support the show, so I like to support them. No religion required has replaced a prophet with a reverend. What's that all about? Kick Jeremiah out the door. Are they going to cash in on that sweet, sweet ex-atheist cash? Well, it's about as likely as Ashley ordering non-sweet tea at a restaurant. Listen to them and prosper. They had a, what was it? Jewish, whatever they're called, was on the show a couple weeks ago. And it's actually interesting because I don't get, you get occasional Christians on atheist show. Usually we're just arguing at each other, but to have a Jewish guy on it, that was pretty was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you were saying you had some surgery was like next? What's next for you? It's different than what your next guest on your show. Like, what's next for you?
Oh. Well, right now I am working with the transgender clinic at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, and I absolutely adore everyone there. Simply for the fact that I've received mm, such wonderful medical care, far, far, far better than I have ever received before, and that was within the span of 3 days, 3 separate appointments I had. One of them was not even for any trans related issues. So, I really liked that. That aside, I am looking to get my double mastectomy done, which, again, in layman's terms, is I'm getting rid of my tits, and a hysterectomy this way when the option is available to have a phalloplasty, whether it's through them or through another physician, which I really think I'll be sticking with the Mayo Clinic. That reduces one step, and as my social worker put it, you can get both done and heal up much quicker. What do you think? That's fine with me. Yeah. The only problem is that I'll probably have to wait about a 6-month period because I have to be off of marijuana for that long, or else they won't do the surgery. They want to make sure that it promotes faster and safer healing. I'm willing to do that, but the wait time is very, very daunting, I guess. So probably will not have that done until March, but I guess I have to hear back from my social worker and all of the physicians involved before I know if that's a certainty or not.
Yeah, I heard about all the stuff that Callie went through getting surgery, and like it gets scheduled, and then like your insurance might give you a call, and that's got to be tough. So can you get those two done fairly soon after each other, or do you have to have a decent like rest period between?
According to my social worker, I think I should be able to have both done at the same time. The wonderful thing about the state of Minnesota is that they recently lifted a ban on Medicaid covering, or Medicaid not covering uh, necessary surgeries for transgender individuals. So my double mastectomy and my hysterectomy should be fully covered under Minnesota's Medicaid program. I haven't received any issue or any letter from them yet. The only problem is that I registered under my old name and my old gender. I'm pretty sure I can fix that pretty easily, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue. But I think with them, I should be okay. The state Medicaid program apparently follows the WPATH guidelines, which for top surgery I can have it done at any time. As for my hysterectomy, WPATH guidelines require that I be on testosterone and living as a man for a minimum of a year before they cover it. I guess that's kind of a way of making sure that I prove, or I show, that I really do not want a working uterus anymore, and I do not want to bring life into the world in that respect, which I don't. I already have 2 stepchildren that I love, but two is enough. Thank you. I'm good. I don't want to have any more children. Thank you. Well, actually, I should take that back. I don't want to have any because I've never given birth. So,
well, how does that? You said like living as a man for your, like, how do you prove that in a certain way, or is it kind of like with a doctor or like a therapist you work that out?
That one's rather interesting. That one's also a guideline that most endocrinologists follow before you are even prescribed T. The requirement goes in most states, as far as getting T goes, you either need to see a therapist for a minimum of 3 months, get a letter of support from them, and then provide it to the endocrinologist before they'll even think about prescribing T. You either do that or you live as a man. That would be presenting as male, using male pronouns, possibly changing your name if you feel like going that route, or insisting that you do present as male. I guess your outward appearance and I guess testimony from others around you, that would be the requirement, which I mean, I thought would be nice. However, I'm rather impatient, so I went with the therapist option rather than just living as a man for a year.
Do you go with just like, can you legally change your name, or do you even have the option to like change your birth certificate in a way to go with I guess
Yes.
chosen name? I hate to say anything like dead name. It's, you know, terms I use that are wrong, just let me know.
Oh no,
If
no, no,
that's
no.
just, you know, buzzards. Oh, sorry.
Nah, you're
Or
good.
Jewish.
Nah, you're good. Yes, it's pretty easy to change your name in most states. I haven't heard any requirements saying that you have to prove that you're going through a gender transition at the time. I changed my name with the state of Pennsylvania, so if there are any listeners from the state of Pennsylvania who are looking to change their name, I will go through this once. Listen carefully. You have to, of course, file with your county courthouse. You have to pay, I believe, about $110, maybe a tiny bit more, to go through the process. You must publish your name change or notice of name change with the date of the hearing and where it's being held. You must do that in two separate publications. One can be Penn Live if you're in the central Pennsylvania area. The other one must be a print newspaper. You don't have to do it in like the New York Times or anything. It can be your local newspaper. You also have to bring proof that you've done that. Then you go to court, you provide the proof, and if there is no one else who shows up with any reason saying that you should never be able to change your name or you should not, shit, I forgot. You also have to do a background check on yourself through the Prothonotari's office. That's about a $9 fee. It's pretty fast, pretty easy. Do that, get your proof in, go to courts. So long as no one says that there's a reason you shouldn't have your name changed, you get a bunch of documents, and once you know it, once you hand it out to the appropriate authorities, you now have your new name.
Easy as that.
Yeah. In the event that you think that you're publishing your name change in a newspaper is going to be a threat to your security, there is a form you can fill out and submit to the courts. If they find it justified, you don't have to publish your name. Just a good thing to throw out there. But yeah, easy as that, and easy as having that much money. Yay.
Now, because we elected a total idiot into our office, we've been having to deal with things such as the transgender military ban. And while it seems like most people are like, yeah, that sucks, there is a big undercurrent of people saying that they don't want, this has been an American thing for the last 5 years. I don't want to pay for it. Like, they don't want to pay for somebody else's, what they think is, I guess, optional, or like it's not really there. Could you make the, maybe a first time someone's ever heard this like case for why this kind of procedures need to be covered?
Well, as far as the I don't want to pay for it comment, all right, fine, then why are you okay paying for so much fucking Viagra through the military anyway? I just want to know the answer to that. My vitriol aside, dysphoria, I know that's a big term and a lot of people point to that and say that it's a mental disorder. It's not. It's taken me a long time to figure out that what's wrong with me is nothing unusual. It's not that I'm a misfit. It's that there are certain parts about me that do not match up, and they haven't for a long time. These surgeries, if you decide that they are what you want, they are necessary for your peace of mind. I've heard so many varying things. If I remember correctly, the gentleman who was post-top surgery from Cali's show a few years ago, when he had described what it was like after the surgery was finished, he said, it felt like such a relief. It was gone. It was kind of like a nightmare. I guess the nightmare part wasn't really part of it, but that's personally something that I've struggled with since I was 9 years old and my mother forced me into a bra. It didn't feel right. It felt like something was wrong, and these are ways to finally fix everything. I don't regret the fact that I was assigned female at birth. That's something I could control, but I don't want to be stuck this way for the rest of my life either. The tea is nice, but there are physical parts of me that I want to change, that I feel must change, and this is the way for me to do it. I can finally be the person that I've always wanted to be, that I know that I can be. It's not necessary if you feel pressure to do so because everyone else is, or that you're not trans enough. That's not the case. This is your body. This is your life. If you do not feel comfortable going ahead with surgery like that, you do not have to, and you are no less valid for it. But if we're making the argument that it shouldn't be covered, it shouldn't be paid for, fuck you. You don't have to pay for it. I can have someone else pay for it if need be. I mean, fine. If I really had to pay for it out of pocket, it wouldn't be easy, but I'd do it. It's necessary because I say so. It's necessary because I know that's what I need to do. It's necessary because this is my body. That is what I want to do to my body. This is what I know I need to do in order to survive in the long run. And if someone doesn't agree with me, well, fuck you on that. I can handle that on my own.
Yeah, I wouldn't want a committee of people like determining when I had to get my appendix out. Like, do you really need your appendix out? You really? Yeah, I would have probably died. So yeah. I did. But I mean, me and my wife, non-kid having people, we're paying for schools. We're paying for a bunch of military stuff that we may or may not support. You pay for a lot of stuff in taxes that may not directly help you, but when you're helping other people, ultimately that's a good thing. I know a lot of people don't agree with that now for some reason. We got really selfish lately.
Yeah.
But very specifically selfish. You get more mad about someone kneeling during the national anthem in a football game, but we don't have time to get into that because we have very important, timely subjects to talk about.
Oh, yes.
Game of Thrones season finale, season 7 for people in the way distant future. And I'm so jealous of the people who have seen the end of the whole thing in 2023, whenever that one's going to come out. But the season finale was last night, and it was the longest episode in history. But there are a couple things that happened that made me think, I bet Aiden's got thoughts on this that my experience could not deal with. Now, there's some stuff you were talking about early in the episode, but I was really focusing on the Theon moment. Theon Greyjoy, the character in the show, who had all the man parts removed, and then not on purpose, gets kicked in that region, and that being a very pivotal moment. So what were your thoughts when that was happening, and maybe about the character and all that stuff?
I just want to point out that, hooray, someone asked me! I have been prepared for this! Yay! Well, I was also prepared for that and the Grey Worm moment earlier in the season, which I squeed over because that one was interesting because I saw it and I was happy for Grey Worm and Melisandre. You know, like, oh, look at you two, or Missandra. I think it's Missandra. I know her and the Red Woman. Their names are close, so if I mess someone's name up, I'm sorry. But, I remember that was over, and I looked at Marissa and I said, "Did they just give a nod to trans men?" I think so. Yes. I was upset earlier in the episode because Braun kept making cockless jokes. Oh, an army of cockless men. You know, it's all about the cock. I remember flipping off the TV a lot, and by the time the dragons showed up. No, not the dragons. The Dothraki showed up. I remember saying, Bran, if you make one more cockless joke, I will reach through the TV and I will punch you in the fucking face. But I kind of had a mixed opinion of Theon, especially after season 2 or season 3 when he betrays the Lannisters. The Lannisters. Oh my fucking god, it's been a long day. I'm sorry. After he betrays the Starks and gets captured by Ramsay Baratheon. Oh my fucking god. Not Baratheon, Bolton. It's been a long
notes here. It's tough. A lot of characters. A lot of stuff.
Tell me about it. I felt that, before Ramsay got out of hand with his torture, that Theon definitely deserved it. I can understand trying to be ambitious and trying to live up to your family's expectations of you, but there's being ambitious and upholding the expectations of someone who doesn't give a damn about you, and then there's going against someone who honestly cared for you, and I really hated him for that. I got sympathetic after he was castrated, and certainly after he became twisted by all of the abuse and the torture that he witnessed. As I told you before, I have some PTSD myself, being abused as a child, so it was never that bad, but I'm always far more sympathetic towards characters like that. What happened last night, I was nervous. I was very nervous. I had the ominous feeling that Theon was not going to make it last night. And I'm sorry if I spoiled it for anyone, but, at this point, you should have watched the fucking episode, so... and I was nervous. I thought he wasn't going to make it, but by the time he kicked him in the crotch, I thought, wait a minute. That's you. Oh, yeah, that's right, you don't know. But the smile on his face... The smile on Theon's face when it happened, I know exactly what that was. You fucked up, fucker. And he beat the shit out of him. He deserved it. Oh, man. That scene was important to me for 2 reasons. Oh, man, I'm starting to lose words already. How he had stopped his abuser. He wasn't able to do that with Ramsay, but I know the anger was there. He was getting him back and his uncle back for everything that happened to him. He finally stood up for himself, and he did it. Just because he does not have a cock did not make him less of a man, and that is something I like to say about myself, other transmasculine folks that were assigned female at birth like me, or other trans men. Just because we do not have a cock attached to us does not mean that we are less of a man. And that scene made me so happy. So very happy on so many levels. Oh, what the hell am I saying? That whole episode made me so happy on so many different levels.
So do you have projections as to what you think is going to happen next season, other than maybe they'll actually start killing more characters, because they really let pretty much everybody live?
I'm glad.
Littlefinger, after the no cocks comment, we'll just throw Littlefinger as a character name anyway.
Oh man, that scene. Oh, now I'm not saying anything about it, but oh man, I was nervous again because, like almost everyone else, Tyrion's one of my favorite characters too, and that made me nervous too. But I'm surprised. I'm definitely thinking that Cersei is not long for this world. And, well, Marissa and I have had this theory, mostly Marissa, I'll say it, that, the prophecy went that your brother will kill you. And, well, it was quite convenient how she had let him go so easily. Jaime, I mean. So I'm thinking that he's probably going to ride north, and he might be the one to do it. And it's kind of convenient how the issue with the King in the North and the Dragon Queen, how that one will be so easily resolved, especially by the end of the season. They're related, and well, it's probably pretty obvious to anyone, even if they have or have not watched Game of Thrones. They're doing it, okay? They're in love. Did anyone not see this coming? Because I mean, damn.
It took a long time to get to it, almost he was recovering last episode from his miraculous recovery. Lots of miraculous recoveries. You thought, okay, there's going to be an indication this is happening. Nope. And then, finally, they had to let it happen. And Targaryens, it's funny. I don't know how funny this is, but the Targaryens have the history where brother sister get married, no big deal. So it's weird that they're like aunt nephew, because I think they're technically the same age, or he might even be older. It's hard to tell because sometimes they have the female characters get married really young, and I think they had to make them a little bit older in the show because that's a little bit very creepy. It's a lot, but he has a lot to resolve. It didn't quite go the way you thought. Well, you had a feeling that the wall was coming down. You knew, like, I don't know if all the dragons are going to make it, that sort of thing. How do they make it not like crazy unbalanced? When it was 3 dragons versus nothing, you're like, oh, come on. But now that the super whatever blue fire that was, it was going out at the end, dragon, and the javelin throwing Night King. Yeah, it could be a tough one.
Oh, yeah.
We have to wait more than a year. Ugh.
I'll never make it. This is terrible.
But if you want to survive that time, there's some podcasts you can listen to.
Oh.
One being for trans men. We've reached past the hour point. So is there anything you want to talk about we haven't covered? And then, of course, let people know where they can track your show down.
Well, I guess.
Hi.
Hi. Well, I guess the only thing that I really have to say is, since I feel like I have to say it even now in 2017, and apparently we don't learn, don't be an asshole to one another. Just be a decent human being for at least 30 seconds, please. I think that's the only serious thing that I'd like to cover. Yes, so anyway, of course, you can listen to my show, For Trans Men, which I try to do weekly, if not bi-weekly, because I forget sometimes. You can find that on iTunes, Spreaker, and on our Patreon, which you can find at patreon.com/4transmen. We also have a Facebook page, of course, facebook.com/4transmen. So you can either go to Patreon and give us money and show us love, and if you decide to become a patron, get nice stuff that we're still working on that patrons only can get because they're amazing. Facebook, you can like the page, listen to shows, look at some things that I post every now and then, and of course send a message if you'd like. That's about it. As far as finding me, I guess
It's pretty good.
I think
that tells everybody where to go. So if you want to support this show, you can be like Bobby, Hugh, Toyota, and Marissa and support the show. Patreon.com/Zachrilege, ZACHRILEGE. I can spell it after 2 beers, so can you. Follow me on Twitter, like my Zachrilege Cast page on Facebook. Send all hate mail to zachrilege.cast@gmail.com. Thank you again to Aiden for being on tonight.
Of course.
For the listeners, stay safe. If you need to chat, I'm available. If you're an atheist and feel alone, you're not alone. Reach out. Let's chat and get that human connectedness that keeps people coming back every Sunday. Don't forget the Beyond Belief fundraiser. I'll have that link in the show notes. Stay skeptical. Love all y'all. And good night. And the gong sound.